Josh McDowell needs no introduction. He is one of the best-known Christian authors anywhere. And without question, if you are a believer, you have had access to more than one or two of his books. Evidence That Demands a Verdict, of course, is probably the one that really put him on the map, but he's written and co-written well over 100. Welcome. Good to have you here, Josh. Seeing you in person.
Well, Jim, it's good to finally meet the master.
Oh, yeah. See, already I got to watch myself here. Josh, this is an amazing book, this Unshakable Truth, how you can experience the 12 essentials of a relevant faith. I noticed, by the way, another McDowell, Sean McDowell, who is your son, right? So the two of you have written this book. The question is why? With all of the books you've done, with all of the experience you've had, why this and why now?
Well, first of all, why my son co-authoring? I needed 2 generations of perspective because this issue is so critical. And so I asked him to co-author with me because one, he's so brilliant and oh, can he write? He's a teacher, interacts with kids all the time. Then why the book? I've devoted my life to young people. For 50 years now, it's all I've done is work with young people. And I see, especially the Christian kids, drifting. And when kids drift, it's because the parents are drifting. Right. And if the parents drift, it's because the church is drifting. And I realize that if we don't do something drastic, we will lose, not the next generation, this entire generation. With how many are leaving, up to 75, 80% are leaving the church within 12 months after high school graduation. And we can't keep up that trend. And so after 50 years working with young people, in which I do a lot of research, it always comes back to one thing, Jim. And it's not what most people think. It's one's world view. You say, what? It's the Holy Spirit? No, Holy Spirit doesn't work in a vacuum. What is the number one thing the Holy Spirit uses to shape a young person and impact in their world is their worldview. And people say, now what's a worldview? A worldview is how you view the world. Do you view it through a materialistic thing, scientific, economical, through a new age, Islamic, whatever set of lenses? Well, I believe the healthiest thing is develop young people to see the world as God sees the world, a worldview. So what we did, we went back to the Council of Nicaea and worked backwards. Most people start with the early church and work forward. We took the Council of Nicaea, worked backwards. What were some of the basic truths that impacted the apostles, the New Testament, and ended up impacting the world? We found 12 basic truths. And so what I did, I wrote this book. It probably took 50 years to write it. In other words, 50 years of experience. Yeah. I took everything that I'd ever said in interviews, books, radio, television, everything. We had transcripts made. That was huge. Then we took everything my son has ever said, taught everything, and we came up with these 2. Then I hired a professional come alongside to help coordinate all of this under these 12 truths, because I wanted it to come from my experience and heart of seeing God work. And it worked. And the uniqueness, I think, of this book are the 4 steps under every truth. There's 12 sections, and a section like on truth, Creator God. The first chapter, there's 4 chapters under there. First chapter is, what is it? What should we believe about it? Second, why in the world should I believe it? How do you know it's even true? Third is, so what? How does it affect my life? And the last chapter is, how can I live it? And each one of the truths has, what is it? Why should I believe it? So what? And how can I live it?
And by the way, this makes your book, I think, quite unique because in many ways it is a theology book. I mean, you're dealing with some basic theological truth. But it's very rare to read a theology book, if you wanted to call it that has personal application, that says, all right, this is how it applies to you, and here's how you can make it happen. And I really appreciated that aspect of the book.
Jim, I got to interrupt you. This is my biggest gripes with seminaries.
Yeah, no application.
I went through 4 years of seminary, and I cannot recall one quiz, one exam where you took that ecclesiology, whatever, and how it applied to you as an individual in relationships.
Well, and you know from your public...
It's interesting you saw that.
Well, you know, and from public speaking, you know this, if there's no application, then there's really no meaning. I mean, there has to be some transmission and translation of this truth into how you live. I've marked it all up, but I want to just highlight a few things. We've got several interviews that we're going to conduct here, so we're going to cover a lot of territory. But I want to start with this concept of truth. Pilate said to Jesus, "What is truth?" And there are those who would say, and we're talking about the unshakable truth here, that the truth is a relative thing. There's no set truth. It all depends on your point of view.
The best way to answer that is I'll need to take just several minutes here and give an historical perspective. Basically, the paradigm of truth for hundreds of years was that here you have a creator God in which all truth resides. Historical, anthropological, theological, philosophical, scientific, all resides in personal creator God. Here is created man that responds to that truth. Onto the scene historically came the Renaissance. The Renaissance said, Jim, we don't need God. Look how great man is. This is when they created statues of man, everything. And what the Renaissance did was bring the concept of a personal creator God about a quarter of the way down the video screen and elevated man. It wouldn't have gone further that if it hadn't been followed by the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment again said the same thing. We don't need God, but for a different reason. See how great man can reason. Man can reason through the sin problem, through salvation, etc. And probably the best picture I've seen of that, you've seen the captain of the ship with Jesus' hand on his shoulder. And it says, Jesus is the captain of master of my destiny. What the Enlightenment did was take that arm off. I am the master of my destiny. And what the Enlightenment did was bring the concept personal creator God down further and elevated man. Then on the scene, I call it a movement, a lot of people miss for years, is the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution said, we don't need God, but for a different reason. See how great man can create. What the Industrial Revolution did was bring the concept of personal creator God further down, elevated man. But there were two basic questions, and none of those could answer. The Renaissance, the Enlightenment, or Industrial Revolution is the origin of man and the universe. Then at the turn of the previous century, onto the scene came Darwinism. And Darwinism said, we don't need even the concept of God. And with that, when the concept that there's a personal creator God in which all truth resides fell off the video screen of history. This is what's called the God is dead movement. It's not like a lot of evangelists would make jokes, oh sure, God was alive, he died. No, the God is dead means the concept that there's a personal creator God in which all truth resides, that concept died. Well, with that, what it left was man. Man, the center of the universe. Almost every single line of thought today, philosophically, theologically, everything else, now comes out of that. You say what? The concept of tolerance. The number one virtue in all the world right now in all history is tolerance. Well, tolerance, I wrote a whole book on it called The New Tolerance, teaches that all values, all beliefs, all lifestyles, all claims to truth are equal. Why? Because here's the man. There is no personal creator God in which all truth resides. So all truth is personal perspective, personal opinion. And people say, oh, that's not true. Biggest phrase in youth all over the world. It might be true for you, but it's not true for me. All truth. Tolerance came out of there. Multiculturalism came out, not multicultural, multiculturalism, which teaches that all cultural values, all cultural beliefs, all cultural lifestyles and claims to truth are equal. Because how can one culture say to another culture, your values are not as good as ours? Where's your external reference point? It's all personal. Out of this came diversity. Diversity has nothing to do really with the color of your skin, ethnic background, or anything. Diversity means with our diverse opinions, our diverse lifestyles, our diverse claims to truth, everything, they're all equal. It's equality in the midst of diversity. Well, this has come right down and affected the church. You see, you have not just two generations now, Jim. We are the first culture to face two totally, completely distinct cultures within the same Christian household, between the adults and the youth. For example, we have had, and I deal with this greatly in there because it affects every one of our lives, an epistemological shift. Epistemology is a big word. Almost all big words have little meanings. Simply means the study of the the nature and the source of truth. In other words, epistemology, what is truth and where does it come from? There's been a total shift between adults and youth right now, right within the church. For example, to almost every adult in Canada, in my country, other countries, truth is basically objective. It's external. You discover truth. Oh, that's not true of young people. Right within the church, except in a rare situation, all truth is created. It's all personal opinion, personal perspective. This is where you get the phrase, well, it might be true for you, but it's not true for me.